Hi everyone, my name is Solomon Jeremiah. I am a Microsoft MVP. I am also a Microsoft certified trainer. Today, I want to be discussing on how to do something that we probably have been seeing in our Entra ID when we go to the authentication method policy. So what's that? So if you go to your Microsoft authentication method policy, you must have seen that on September 30th, 2025, the legacy multi-factor authenticator and self-service password reset policies will be deprecated, and the settings will be managed in the authentication method policy. So today what I would be discussing or showing you how to do is how to migrate MFA and SSPR policy settings to the authentication methods policy for Microsoft Entra ID. So just before I dive into what I have for today, I would be explaining the topics or the areas I will be viewing before we complete this migration. So the first thing we'll be looking at is I have a user account that is already set up to use MFA. I'll be signing into this user account, and the reason I'm doing this is so that at the end of this migration, I will try to sign into the user account just to confirm that there's no impact on the user signing after the migration process. The second thing I'll be doing is I'll be reviewing the legacy MFA policy and also the SSPR policy. We are going to view them. We are going to see the methods we have enabled, and we are going to see how we can consolidate these methods to the authentication methods policy. So let me just jump right into it. So I have my office.com opened up, and then I will try to sign in with this user account, and I'm going to type in the password. So now it is going to pop on my phone. I would just type in the number 26 and that should be good. I should be signed in. Yes, I'm signed in. So everything is all good right now. So I'm signed into this user account. I'm just going to sign out and then minimize this. So what do we need to do next? We need to understand what the legacy MFA policy is all about and the methods. How do we consolidate these methods to the authentication method policies? So what I will do first is how do we assess the legacy policy? So there are a couple of ways you can assess this, and one of the ways to view the legacy policy is coming to the Microsoft Admin Center and then clicking on multi-factor authentication at the top here. So once you click this, you will see it's going to take you to the page where you can see the legacy multi-factor authentication. So if I click on this, you would see the methods that I have for my user. These methods are what is available for my user. The text message to phone. We also have the notification through mobile app. So how do we assess this? There are a couple of ways we can assess this. So let me just show you all the ways you can get to this place before we look at the SSPR policy. Another way is you can just click on the user account. To me, this is like multiple clicks, right? I need to save my clicks. So if you click on this, you would see that we are going to the same place. We can still get here through this place. And if we come to all users here in the Entra ID, if we click on, so I was just showing you how we can access it from the admin center, but from the Entra ID, you will see we have per user MFA. Once we click on it, we are going straight to where we see the methods that are enabled in the legacy MFA policy. Another way, which is the final way we can get there, is when we come to protection in our Entra ID, you'll see we have this option to show more, and you can see MFA authentication is already selected here, but I'll just click on it. So once I click on this, I have where we have additional cloud-based multi-factor authentication settings. If I click on this and then I click on service settings, I'm back there. So right now, this is the legacy MFA policy. And if we look at this, we already see that this is the methods we have enabled for our users. There's something else we need to understand just before I go into the SSPR. I have this image here showing the multifactor authentication policy, and if you look at this, you'll see that these are the methods that we could find in the legacy MFA policy. And now this is the authentication method policy that we are looking at consolidating these methods to. So if you look at this call to phone, we have voice calls, text message to phone, we have this notification through mobile app, we have the Microsoft Authenticator. So the plan is I have this tool enabled on my legacy MFA policy for my users. I am looking at moving it here, and for me to move this here, I will have to go to this authentication method policy to enable this too. So that's what we'll be looking at soon. So I'm going to minimize this. Now the next place we would love to go to is if I come back here, this is the Entra ID. That's the Entra Admin Center, right? And what I would be looking for is the protection. And if you look at the protection, the next thing I'll be looking at is the password reset. So when I come to the password reset, I already have the SSPR set up for this group. But then what I want to look at is the authentication method. And for the authentication method, I have the mobile app code, and I also have the mobile phone. So for these, if we are looking at, moving this as well, migrating these methods, we just need to look at this document. Now, if you look at the document, you're going to see all of the authentication methods for the SSPRO and the authentication method policies that matches each of these methods. Now, one thing you should note is for some organization, you might have security questions turned on, and the security question is not yet available in the authentication method policy. So Microsoft, in their document, they made it known that this will be coming soon. So if you are interested in using this, you want to keep using this, I would advise you do not untick this when we get to the part where I'll be unticking this authentication methods. So you would need to leave this and watch out for the security questions when they're available, so you can, migrate them to the authentication method policy. So right now, I was able to review the methods I have enabled for my tenant. That's the MFA, that's the legacy MFA policy, and also the SSPR authentication methods I have. So now the next place I will be moving to is straight to the authentication methods. Now, if you look at the authentication method, you will see this notification here telling you that, oh, you need to do this before September 30th, 2025. And if you look at the migration status, it's showing that it's in progress. So if we come here, you will see that we have different stages that we can, go through when carrying out this activity. So right now, you might see yours probably not in any of these stages. You can choose to just hit this and then select migration in process before carrying out the changes that I will be doing now. So looking at this, another thing you should note is for the migration, there is what we have here that is automated. You can as well use this automated process to carry out this migration. But for me, I'm using the manual method, and that's why I'm not going through this process of using automatic migration. So, but looking at this other side, we are going to see that we have the authentication method policies. And when you look at these policies, we have more compared to the legacy MFA and also the SSPR authentication method. You see, we have stuffs like the temporary access pass, we have the FIDO, and other stuffs here. So, but right now, my concern is, after reviewing the methods I have for my legacy MFA and my SSPR policy, I need to consolidate those methods here. And one of the methods I'll be enabling will be the Microsoft Authenticator. So for this, I would hit enable here. For the user I have, the test user is in a group, and I'm just going to add the group for the test user, which is the executives, and I'm going to select this. And once I select this, there's an option here where you can change it to passwordless or push, right? For the passwordless, you know, you don't need a password when you're signing into your account. But if you select that, the user still needs to go to the authenticator app on their phone to, you know, complete the setup. So, but this, I'm just, for this tutorial purpose or this video, I will just leave this the way it is, and then I'm going to save this. So the next thing I'll be looking at is the SMS, right? And when you choose the mobile phone, you have the option to either get a voice call or you use the SMS. So I'm going to just turn this on now, and I'll enable this. I'll select the same group I use for the test user, which is the executives, and this should be this, and then I'll go. So for this, I would just click save. So there's an option to use for sign in there, but I just left that. So I'm just going to leave it this way. So now that I'm done with this, the next thing I will be looking at is going to take off the method from the legacy MFA policy. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click this. I'll click this, and it's still telling me to select one. Probably the sync from what I just did has not really synced from the authentication method policy to this place. So I'm just going to refresh this. Let me refresh this, and then I'll go back here, and let's see if this is going to work now. Okay, now you can see I'm not getting that error anymore. It says disabling all authentication methods could lock out your users. Ensure that you have enough authentication methods enabled in the new authentication method policy before saving. Yeah, so you have to do that. So I'm just going to save this. So this is now completed for me. So the next part, or the next place I'll be going to, is the SSPR, which is the password reset under protection in Entra ID. So I'll come here and I will untick this as well. So you can see this: before saving, confirm that your users have enough methods enabled across their policy and the new authentication methods for authentication methods policy to register for SSPR. So I'm just going to click save here. So one thing you might also want to explore, some other options that you might want to explore is, you know, okay, I want to try using this. You can, you know, explore all of these other authentication method and see how it goes. So right now I've been able to, you know, do the migration, but I've not completed it right here. So what I'm going to do is I would be completing this process. So let me see what this is going to look like. I'll click on complete, and then I'll try to save it. So another thing I would advise, you could probably leave it in that state where we have in progress. That's this. You can actually leave it here, and then, you know, just do some testing, checking, and before you finally complete the migration process. So right now I'm done with setting up, migrating my MFA and SSPR policy settings to the authentication methods policy for Entra ID. So the last thing I would love to do right now is just for me to test if my user is going to have any issue signing in. So I would just click forget this account. Let me just see, and then I'll come sign in. So I'm going to type in the password. So I'm going to click sign in, and I still had my pop-up, you know, let me check my phone just to be sure. So I'm just going to type in this number. And that's it. Everything looks good for my user and for me. So I'm all good. I'm signed in to the tenant and my migration have been completed. So this is just me explaining how to carry out this migration. And for the technical guys out there, the senior engineers, the cloud architects, I think it's time you start reviewing all of these. You don't have to wait for September 2025 before you do this. Thank you so much for watching and do have a wonderful week ahead. Bye.